Hello, everybody. Guess I need a little work on that.
We'll work on that. We're working on that.
Hello, and welcome into the PHLY Eagle Show, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whenever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Hello, I am Rich Hofmann. You know me.
Yes.
I think you should know this guy, my longtime friend, who we used to do a lot of basketball coverage together, but now we're talking football because he's good at everything. Roy is good at everything.
I try.
My friend, Roy Burton. Roy, how is it going?
It's going pretty well. Again, we'll talk about how it's going with this football team in a second, but I'm doing pretty well.
That's good, man. You know, I got to say, this is probably the best time bye week in the history of Eagles football.
I'm glad you brought that up because when the schedule came out, I'm like, week 5 bye? This is terrible. You know, guys are still going to be, relatively healthy. I mean, like you want to buy later in the week, year when everybody's banged up. For my mental sanity, probably for your mental sanity, for people in the chats, their mental sanity, week 5 bye, perfect. Perfect time this year. Perfect.
It's just like you forget kind of during the week, like, yeah, there's some hope, right? They can find some pass rush against Baker Mayfield or whatever. Right. And then you get to Sunday and they've been a tough watch. I get it. They're 2-2, so I don't want to pretend like we're watching a tanking football team right now.
This isn't the Carolina Panthers.
But it's been tough. And I think getting that mental reset also while the Phillies are playing their 2 playoff games this weekend, that could have
that hurt.
That doesn't that worked out well. Okay. Roy, there are a bunch of things I want to talk about today, reasons that, Zach, Bo, especially Zach, the Stone Cold Newsman, we have a little bit different of a temperature than they do. We're fans, right?
Yeah, we're not fans. Yeah, sure.
We're not around the team as much, and I think all the sickos in the chat, they are fans as well. Yeah. They can relate. So we're going to talk about some reasons that we're optimistic, some reasons we're not optimistic. There are a bunch of those, as well. But I did want to get your thoughts on a couple things early on. Did you watch? I was just perusing Reddit and just seeing some of the things that Eagles fans are talking about. Okay. Did you see the video of Quinyon Mitchell talking trash to Mike Evans?
I did, and I guess you can kind of juxtapose that with the video of Avante Maddox talking to Mike Evans about Fortnite. I don't. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm just saying, my cornerback 1 talking trash to a Hall of Fame Mike Evans. I love it. Well, soon to be cornerback 1, I should say. Love it. I love that kid, man. For the reasons, and we'll talk about this later, when it comes to the reasons for optimism for these next 13 weeks or whatever it is, he's number 1. Well, he's not number 1, but he's right up there.
His level of play has been excellent. It'd be nice if he caught one of those pick sixes that he's basically creating for himself. Sure. And that's fine. But he also just has the attitude.
Yeah, he's got that juice.
Right. And, honestly, not every corner needs to be a guy who's a finger wagger and all that stuff. But it seems like he has really bought into that. And his confidence is, there was always players like Jalen Mills, who would wag the finger. Sometimes he would
Chelsea Gardner-Johnson. I mean, he wags when he probably shouldn't wag, when guys drop passes.
Slay did it on the wide open touchdown pass that they dropped or whatever. It was like 4th down, which, that's part of the position. That's one of the hardest positions to play.
Absolutely.
But this kid has backed it up. And it was funny that Mike Evans was like, "Who are you?" And Quinyon Mitchell was like, "Well, look, I know we're having a rough game right now, but you don't have any catches on me, basically."
Right. I'm here, brother.
So he's made some great plays as well. Do you I was also looking around the NFL. Do you have any thoughts on Devontae Adams and kind of where he might go to?
Very curious to see how that winds up because he originally went there to play with a quarterback who's not there anymore, Derek Carr. I think he's probably – I don't think they'll trade him. Well, obviously, they won't trade him in the division. So, ideally, the Chiefs will be a nice spot.
By the way, that is so dumb. The Raiders, they are playing a completely different sport than the Chiefs. Like, if the Chiefs give you the best package by a mile, you're not going to compete with them.
But you don't want to do that because you got to see them twice a year. You got to see him twice a year.
They're going to beat you anyway. Who cares, Roy?
Yeah. No, you can't do it.
I get it. Look. If Ty goes to the team who's not in the division, but come on, what is Patrick Mahomes going to stop playing for them?
Would you want to trade with the Dallas Cowboys? One of your premier players. Would you want to trade? If they knocked you over with a package, would you want to trade them one of your premier players?
If I was the New York Giants or Washington over the past few years and I was rebuilding and we weren't going to be good for a few years, yeah, who cares? If they're giving me the best package by a mile, like let's say they offered a first-round pick and everybody else was offering a 2.
The fact that man comes into your building once a year and you go to his building once a year, it matters. I'm telling you, that stuff matters.
Yeah,
like owners do not want to get shown up, or GMs, especially owners, don't want to get shown up by a guy that they traded away to come back in their building and show them up. They don't like that. They don't want that to happen.
We can disagree on that. So it does seem like he really wants to play for New Orleans or
the Jets,
which is so funny because like he just loves familiarity. That Davante Adams,
you know what?
Just like. Let's be real. Derek Carr, I know he had a good first couple of weeks. Like,
right.
Derek Carr is not one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football.
Yeah, but they're really good. Didn't they like live like near each other at some point, like close to each other or something? I know they have a really good relationship. I know they go back high school or whatever it is, like a long time. Guys want what they want. So I mean, I don't knock a guy. If you told me I can play wherever I want or go wherever I want, let me go with my friends. Let me just hang out.
Well, I would prefer Davante Adams was playing in the AFC. He
absolutely keep him over there. Don't need to see that. You know, even though we have Quinyon Mitchell, don't need to see that.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, Jason Kelce getting Stevie Nicks on the
saw that
on the Christmas album. I have a couple thoughts on that.
Yes.
First off, great get. Wow,
huge get.
Like
huge get.
That's huge. I do think it would be funny though if the Eagles are 5-9 in December, like Jordan Mailata is going to have to sneak that his golden pipes singing another song through. Like it's not going to be quite as cute if they end up stinking. I don't think they're going to be that bad.
No, they shouldn't be.
But if they actually like tanked, I wonder if the Christmas album sales would also.
That'd be a funny because again, like the album sales go a little bit differently when you're 10-1, 11-1, than opposed to kind of pulling up the rear in the NFCs. But they'll be fine.
But I gotta say, getting Stevie, that's that feels like that'll boost the sales regardless.
That's a like now this is a charity album, right? I believe don't the proceeds go to charity?
Yeah.
So I always wonder about when you pull in a big name, are they just doing it to give you a solid? I guess like Stevie Nicks is just giving you a solid in the booth. I mean, kudos to Kelce because that's a pretty good get just off the strength of being a good friend.
Come on, the lady who sang Dreams. Come on, you got to Rhiannon, my girl Stevie. She's great. Okay. Let's enough talk about nonsense. Let's get to the Eagles.
We have to talk about this team?
We do. We do.
All right.
And we're going to start with the things that are worrying us. And when I pose this,
is there a scroll here? Is there? Goodness gracious!
Yes, it would extend all the way to Julia over there.
That little Nas X gif where he goes on stage at the MTV Awards. He has a scroll and it kind of just like falls
off. Yes, exactly.
That's the list of things that are bad about the Eagles right now.
Okay.
But seriously.
So I posed this question to you before the show.
Yes.
And the first thing you said was?
I gave you 2 words, pass rush. Pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. You cannot win in the NFL without a consistent pass rush. This team has 6 sacks on the season, 2 of them coming from your edge rushers, right? You got Brandon Graham with one. You have Sweaty J with the other. I think Huff, who has the Zach Bond has 2 of them.
And even the BG one last week, like that was they screwed up the blocking.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll give it to him. He's 36 years old. Us old guys need a little help, when we get athletically. So
100%. And he's been their best player. He's been their best edge rusher.
He's been their best edge rusher. Again, he's 36 years old. He's been your best edge rusher. That shouldn't be the case. You can't have BG be your best edge rusher. I think we've already written off Bryce Huff. I think the Bryce Huff experiment's over and written off and things like that.
It's over?
I think for me, it's over. I think you could write this off.
So what does over mean? Is he like playing like 20% of the snaps the rest of the year?
I think it's like you can't expect anything you get from him is a bonus, I believe, at this point. Because I just don't think he's going to be – I don't think he's going to evolve at this point. I don't think he's going to get it and be a consistent pass rusher. So I think it's over. I think you just need those – you need Josh Sweat, you need Nolan Smith. You need those guys to step up because, unless they step up or unless you make a move at the deadline, then I just don't see how this team, wins more than 9 or 10 games.
I understand the Huff skepticism because, look, I'm still holding out hope for him, but I got to say it's not based on anything I've watched the first 4 games. I haven't seen it. It's just that he had double-digit sacks last year in limited snaps. So, I'm sorry, you can't forget how to play football.
You just don't get bad.
I know,
overnight, right?
This feels like a Ben Simmons thing. You forgot to shoot. Come on, man. This is even easier. Why can't you rush the passer?
So here's the thing, though: is did he get double-digit sacks? No offense to our guys, but did he get double-digit sacks? Is because he's playing next to Quinton Williams. He has Quincy Williams behind him. Is he a product of the guys next to him, or is he just that talented of a guy?
Or the scheme. I mean, it's funny.
Or the scheme.
It's funny.
I've seen people talk about the turf because he played a lot of games on turf last year as opposed to playing in grass. And he just doesn't have the same get off here. There's a whole lot of theories about this. I don't care. I've written them off. You are very optimistic, so you believe that there's something there.
Not very optimistic.
Well, okay. Slightly optimistic. You think that there's something there. I don't see it. So I don't know whether it's grass or his teammates or whatever. I just don't see it. Maybe you could convince me otherwise.
I'm not resorting to the playing surface thinking that that's magically going to change things.
Okay.
Like, sure. When the sod father screwed us in the Super Bowl, fine. I can understand that because Hassan Reddick had a great year to that point.
He did.
And that clearly messed with him. But I'm not going to say that treacherous MetLife turf is the reason that Bryce Huff was getting the passer. Honestly, man, like, people tweeted out a lot of videos of just him getting those sacks last year. Like, he was beating guys with speed like and power.
A competent, speedy, third down edge rusher. Like, okay, like a normal dude.
And it's been brought up in the chat that he is not he's not playing in a 4-point stance. It's funny. I think Baldy has kind of mentioned that too.
Yeah.
That if you get him away from sort of outside linebacker technique, I don't really know if that's available to Vic in this. Like Vic has been flexible with the off coverage versus the press coverage. And I think what Fran has said over the past few days, I got pretty mad the other day, Roy. I was like, why don't you get up and contest these guys? Yeah. But it seems like Vic is actually pretty flexible with that. And Fran also said, like, honestly, they were playing off coverage the first few games and it wasn't a disaster. And for most of those, it was more the run defense that was an issue in those games. I wonder if Vic could be a little more flexible. Just, Get your hands on the ground.
Put the hands on the ground. Let's see what happens. It can't be any worse. Literally.
I have one thought about just the state of the defensive line and the pass rush, and it's that Jordan Davis is the anti Quinyon Mitchell. Where first round picks, Roy. I am not as smart as Fran or Bo at analyzing this stuff, but if you miss on first round picks, the bill comes due at some point, right? Yeah, and for the first year, Jordan Davis was playing like, I forget the exact numbers. I think it was like 25% of the Eagles snaps. And obviously, he had Javon Hargrave ahead of him. He had Fletch ahead of him.
Right.
And the Eagles were killing teams. So nobody cared.
That's
right?
Yeah.
Nobody cared. The Eagles were rolling. They were getting sacks. Everybody on the line was getting sacks.
Yep.
But there was something in there that he wasn't ready to play. Right. And when eventually he has been forced into a more prominent role, I don't think he is the only person responsible for it. I'm not completely giving up on him yet. But the early returns have not been great. And he's been part of a pass rush that has been non-existent for what are we talking now? Like 10 straight games if we go back to last year?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been bad. And it's funny, Quinyon Mitchell is on a defense that is a mess right now.
Right. But he's still...
But he looks good. And that looks like the Eagles have deposited something where, when there is competence, whether it's Fangio getting his what together or just them getting better players, like they're going to be all right at corner for a long time, it seems like, with that kid.
Right.
So that's part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Fran also brought up one other thing about that, Roy. Like he is experimenting, Fangio, that is, with different fronts. Like, did you see at the beginning of last game, he starts with a front where he plays 3 D tackles and 1 edge rusher.
Yeah.
Like he's trying different stuff. None of it is working. I guess the hope would be that he's going to land on something that works at some point. But yeah, I mean, like part of the it's like he almost gave up on the pass rush, right? Where he's like, hey, Milton Williams, you know what? You've flashed a little more than all of our edge rushers.
That's the thing.
Why don't we line you up on the outside and see what happens?
That's the thing. If you lined everybody up, if you just said all your defensive linemen, give me, who's been the best this year? It's probably been, Jalen Carter, in no particular order. Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Brandon Graham. I'm not even sure who's 4th, but whatever. Anyhow,
Thomas Booker.
Yeah, Thomas Booker.
It's flashing.
The interior guys have been better than the other guys. So maybe it's like you said, you know what? Here's my best 4 guys. Let me line them up. Let me see what they can do and just figure out maybe, between these guys and maybe I can kind of rotate these other guys in NASCAR style like the Giants used to do. Maybe I can find a diamond in the rough, if I only have to play Nolan Smith 25 plays a game.
So I agree with you. I think that is by far the number one problem on this team. And it's the one that I don't know where the solution comes from unless you make a trade.
Yeah.
Like I think the rest of these you can argue, all right, like a little coaching, a little bit smarter play from the players, maybe move a couple pieces around, you can fix it. I'm not sure about that one. That one is...
That's a little dicey.
Yeah. Okay. So that's clearly number one. Yeah. Number 2 reason, Roy, and this was the one I said after you said pass rush, is just Jalen Hurts. I think there are things he can build on. I think I've seen stretches of play from him this year, handling the blitz, throwing well with motion at the start of the year. He needs to avoid the big mistake. And, I looked it up. He is currently 11th in QBR, which I think it's not the end-all be-all, but I think it's a decent snapshot of kind of, all right, he's been around average to slightly above average overall. But I got to say, even in this case, I would probably dock him a few more points because he's just making 1.5 absolutely killer mistakes every week, Roy. And, a lot of people are pointing back to the high turnover numbers from last year. If you combine it, nobody's turning the ball over more than Jalen Hurts since the start of 2023. Right. The issue I have is, like, how are these turnovers coming about? I understand that a high volume of turnovers is bad, but I think even worse is that when you look at these turnovers, like, he has 3 fumbles lost, Roy. 2 of those are just terrible. Like, he's just holding onto the ball. It's Carson Wentz pocket presence. I hate saying that because I don't think –
No, you're right.
I don't think he's on the Carson Wentz trajectory. I think there's still more to work with. Like, Carson Wentz in 2020 was broken. And I don't think Jalen is broken, but he's making those killer mistakes. And, we do have to call it out. And then, you look at some of his picks, like the one against New Orleans where Devontae runs a bad route. Right. Okay. We can live with that one. But the one at the end of the game against Atlanta, sneaky, really bad decision. He made up for it the next week by hitting Goddard, but
the triple coverage interception of the Green Bay game.
He's got to cut down.
Like, these are like some of these are passes. This is my saying. I have those old man sayings. These are some of these passes are passes you don't make in Madden, right? Like, if you have the controller in your hand and, like, maybe if your finger slips, maybe you throw that pass to Devontae Smith in triple coverage. Maybe you throw the interception that he threw last week. It's just like some of these interceptions are just inexcusable. And then the pocket presence. I mean, I might be a little bit more upset by the pocket presence because interceptions happen. They shouldn't to this extent, but they happen. The pocket presence at this stage in your career, you just have to be more aware. I mean, when a man rushes past you in the pocket, he doesn't disappear, right? Like, this isn't a video game where once an enemy is off the screen, like, he's gone. He's still behind you. You have to have that awareness of yourself to say, hey, there's a guy behind me. I don't know if he's active or not active. I got to get out of the pocket. I got to get clear. And for a guy this deep in his career making those same errors, it's really, I mean, this is stuff you expect out of rookies, second-year guys. I mean, Jalen Hurts is, getting paid $250 million. Like, you just can't make these mistakes.
And it's a huge part. I mean, the defense is part of it too. But when you lose the turnover battle 12 straight weeks.
every week.
That's unbelievable. That was a stat that I was not aware of.
So is it 12? Is it 12 straight weeks?
Or they haven't won it in 12 weeks.
Okay.
That was a stat I was not aware of. That is mind-blowing.
It's unbelievable to not win, because again, we all know that, winning the turnover battle means you win the game 70% of the time, whatever the stat is. You have to win the turnover battle to win the game. If you never win the turnover, if you don't win it for 12 weeks, it's amazing how this team even won some of these games they've won, because you can't consistently lose a turnover battle and win games. It just doesn't work.
So, he's had some good moments, but I think you have to dock him a really good bit for those turnovers. Sure. I don't have anything else good to say about it. Just stop doing it.
Stop turning the ball over. Still do it.
And I agree with you. It's the fumbles where he's holding the ball like a loaf of bread when there's 5 seconds since he's snapped the ball, right? And that can't happen.
The clock in your head has to kind of go off. But let me ask you a question, because Jalen Hurts obviously leads the league in turnovers, since whatever the cutoff is. Right behind Josh Allen, right? I think maybe 3 interceptions behind him. Hasn't thrown a pick this year, but he has a bunch of fumbles over the same period. Josh Allen's highs are higher than Jalen Hurts' highs. Yeah. So I think Josh Allen makes up for his turnovers, as opposed to Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he has highs. I mean, we saw the Saints game and things like that. I think if Jalen Hurts made a couple more big plays, a couple more big runs, would that affect how you think of him?
Sure.
Would he not be a turnover merchant anymore if he could have pulled out, a 40-yard run every now and then?
Sure. I mean, but Josh Allen is more dynamic on the ground and rolling out and making throws, Sure. And Jalen, I think he's become kind of more of a move the chains guy with running. He's so much better when he's going downhill. Sideways, I don't know what happened over the past years. Maybe, honestly, the 2022 season was just misleading, and that they had everything schemed up perfectly, and he was never a guy that could really run sideways and kind of make you miss and those things in a way that Josh Allen can. But, you need him going downhill. And then, it's funny. I was thinking of Josh Allen on that first play of the game where he missed Saquon the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, Josh Allen gets
Josh Allen makes sense. I mean, we saw
he at least gets it in bounds, right?
We've seen that throw from Josh Allen before.
So no, I'm with you. It's like I don't even think the turnovers. There's too many turnovers, but yeah, you're right. Like if he was making big plays to cancel out some of those things, I think we would look at it differently. But he's not.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. You know what? I think, Roy, we can take a break here. I will come back in a second, and we will continue to talk about some reasons that we are frustrated, and we will get to that. And, so, Roy, I want to tell you about our friends at Miller Lite. A lot has changed for us over the past years. A lot has changed for us personally, right? Me and you.
Absolutely.
We're talking on a football show.
Back, man. Like, who would have thought? The two of us right here.
Two basketball guys talking football right now. But you know what has not changed, Roy?
What's that?
Miller Lite. And as a longtime light beer drinker, Miller Lite has always been the gold standard for me in the light beer wars. Going to the bar, getting some beers for a barbecue, get some Miller Lite. My friends and I, we would head to the bar and load up on those bad boys. Only 96 calories, great taste, and less filling. As anyone who has watched a game over the past couple of weeks, they probably know those two things, I bet.
Yes, sir.
It is both. So you do not have to choose what's best, Roy. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Nice. Fewer calories and carbs than a premium regular beer.
Awesome. Now, it's also time to talk about our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services. From plumbing to heating and cooling, Ace Hardware Home Services has the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Leaky pipe, air conditioning issue, no worries. Ace Hardware Home Services is bringing helpful home, the helpful you love from the store, now to your front door. Ace Hardware Home Services, with the power of the Ace brand, strive to be the best, most trusted provider of home preservation services. They offer a wide range of residential maintenance, installation, and home repair services, including plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. You get free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. And Rich, if you're like me, and if you're up all hours of the night worried that there's a leaky roof or leaky something or other going on in your house, don't worry. Ace Hardware Home Services has emergency services available for when you need them the most. So bottom line, service you can trust and satisfaction guaranteed. It will make it right no matter what. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
Okay. Back to the birds. Quickly, there were a couple things, again, not a full-length scroll like you were talking about, but there were a couple things I wanted to hit on that are not really specific to the team. I guess, okay, so the first one is specific to the coaching staff, and I think Bo and Zach have done a great job of talking about this, but I can say as a fan, it really has bothered me. And it's just that it seems like the Sirianni decision and the decision to bring in the two coordinators in the offseason, they're off to a terrible start. And
terrible.
Look, there's 3 quarters of the season left. We don't want to judge just on that. But we talked all offseason about the CEO coach and can he, manage the game? Can he handle the vibes? Like, Roy, ostensibly he has the least responsibility in the league of any coach.
Any coach.
He gets talked about in his local market after these games. And I think rightfully so in a lot of cases. More than any other coach in the league.
I agree. Well, part of it is because, at least with the offense, he can't keep his hands off of it. And he's admitted to it, even though he says he's the passenger driver, the backseat driver, he's in the passenger seat. This is clearly
he needs to be out of the car.
Yeah, I wrote on Twitter, you can be the backseat driver, you can be the passenger, but you can't grab the wheel and steer the car into a telephone pole.
He needs to be in a car seat in the back.
If you're the CEO, be the CEO. Like the CEO of a company doesn't mess with the financial statements, right? Like they don't, come up with the marketing plan. That's what the CMO is for. That's what the CFO is for. Just be the CEO. Just be in your car seat and let Kellen Moore and let your Vic Fangio do their thing.
I know I'm being hard on him with the car seat analogy, but honestly, I understand that he's an offensive guy. I understand that they've had success under him offensively.
Sure.
But man, like Kellen Moore should be driving this
He
car.
should be.
And I will say I've been disappointed the last few weeks. I understand AJ Brown, like losing him, losing Lane Johnson last week. Those guys, to all pro caliber players, I think they're probably the two best players on the team now. Now that Kelce and Fletch are not here. It just, I'd like to see a little more creativity from him. You know, it felt like they really ran like a lot of motion. They dialed up a lot of good stuff in that first week against Green Bay.
Buddy.
And then we've seen, I don't know, we've seen less of it. And I don't want to completely get on Kellen Moore because I think when you give him his full complement of players back, that's when he and Hurts really need to, you know, put the pedal to the metal and start scoring some points. And then Fangio, like last week was really bad. Like Fangio got pantsed last week. And I was really frustrated. You know, as much as I was frustrated with Sirianni and there were some grumbles, could they fire him? They weren't going to fire him after the week, or whatever. Vic Fangio was the reason, and the defense was the reason they lost the game. Like, I understand, you know, we can complain about the game script. Should they run the ball more? They marched down the field, and Baker Mayfield was getting rid of the ball in like 1.9 seconds because the game plan got screwed up.
Yeah. When you're down 21-0 off the rip, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard. And again, like I can rip Kellen Moore for last week, but when you're down 21-0, that really changes a lot when it comes to the game script. But just to get back to your Kellen Moore point, you know, Polar Jam in the chat, no AJ for 3 games will do that. I mean, not having AJ Brown means you need to be, I believe, you need to be a little bit more creative on offense. And, or a little, I don't want to say more creative. Well, yeah, more creative on offense. I haven't seen that, or haven't seen. Again, I would think you would move to a more run-centric offense, you know, without A.J. Brown and without Devontae this last game and a half, and we just haven't seen it.
Yeah. Neil Deaver saying that Nick did not drop the pass to Barkley. Yeah, there was a pass decision, though, on that play. Probably should have ran it. I don't really care if the play worked. I don't want that risk. So, look, I think his decision-making cost them that Atlanta game, and look, it's a small sample. I think over a year, he's probably not going to, like, make so many costly in-game decisions. I mean, the decision against New Orleans was terrible too. So that has been bad. And like, look, more than Nick too, I'm just disappointed in Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman too, right? Like they're the ones who are here all the time. They're the ones that said, this is going to be the infrastructure. This is going to be the setup that works. And it just, again, I think it's bigger than Nick. And that's been a swing and a miss. And they've been really like a great general manager, great owner for a long time. But they're like, this is not the sustained level of success with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Like the Eagles they go up and down, which I think in some ways is more impressive than those other franchises when they don't have the quarterbacks that just give them, 9 or 10 wins every year. But like, look, they've messed up on some decisions, and it seems like, I don't know, this has been a bad start.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to build 2 separate Super Bowl rosters, and you know they've done that, you know, over this time. So I mean, like, kudos to Howie for doing this. I just want to get back though to I guess since we're talking about Lurie and Roseman, because obviously they're the brain trusts behind the whole situation. Whatever, I'll call it a hierarchy, but I'm not sure what you want to call this hierarchy, the coaching hierarchy. Should we have seen some of this coming? Like, should this have been something that we could have seen? Because again, Nick Sirianni obviously was, you know, in the passenger seat when it comes to hiring these coaches. Should we have seen it coming when, you know, you bring in somebody who's not Nick Sirianni's pick to be your OC, you bring in, Vic Fangio to be the DC? Should we have seen some of this, I don't want to say bad chemistry, but just some of this bad energy? Should we have seen this coming?
Well, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman should have, right? It's more so them than us. Yeah. And look, we'll see. Like, I think Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio have shown over their careers they are competent at their job, competent to good at their jobs. And look, they got a nice, easy schedule coming up on the way here. One more thing that bothers me, Roy, and this is just a general observation: the Eagles have not blown out a team since I think the Miami game last year. We're almost on a calendar year where they just have a big, comfortable 2-possession win, like Tampa had against them last week. Roy, like, this is kind of like, you know, the Super Bowl ceiling. You know, I think we're a long ways from that right now, obviously.
Sure.
But like the Super Bowl teams, I remember the 2017 team doing the electric slide because they were just,
oh my God.
And people hated it.
Yeah.
People hated that, but they were killing teams. Yeah. Like they were smoking teams. They were so bored. They were thinking of stupid dances to do. And I'm thinking of the 2022 team as well. Right. There was that stretch in the middle of the year, like Pittsburgh, Tennessee, where AJ was catching those long bombs. And it was just a lot of fun. They were running up the score. And I think we learned last year that like knowing how to win and winning all these close games, man, that's going to catch up to you
It catches up to you.
That's going to catch up to you at some point. And I'm not saying, look, the NFL is a hard league. They all get paid. You know, obviously the margin between winning and losing can be very small.
Sure.
Once in a while, can you smoke a team once in a while?
But the problem is you can't smoke a team if you consistently lose the turnover battle. Just to get back to your point, again, if you're giving up 2 interceptions a game or an interception and a fumble a game and losing that turnover battle, it's hard to win. I mean, you're the 31st team in turnover differential in the NFL. I mean, you just can't consistently win, and especially blow teams out if you're going to be -1, -2 turnovers every Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's enough negativity.
All right, let's talk about some positive things. There are some things, I think.
I do think there are some ways this team can bounce back. And the first one is just the schedule. Like, I want to be honest. Like, that Brazil game was such BS. I saw Zach.
So it's BS because it was a home game for us?
Yes.
Home game for us?
Yes, and it's super far, and it was poorly put together by the NFL. The field stunk. There's a million things. It was terrible.
Let me counteract this. Everybody's going to have one of those games. Like, there's going to be you're going to be the road team for somebody else's Brazil game.
We better
at
not.
Some point. I'm just saying. It all evens out. And we won ours. We won it. So I'm good. Doesn't matter. It's in the past.
We better not have another one of those games for a decade. Zach mentioned the other day, because he was, I think he was quote tweeting an interview that one of the higher ups in the NFL put out there. He said, keep an eye for the Eagles for an Australia regular season game because of Jordan Mailata.
And you know what?
If they have to go to Australia,
it makes a lot of sense. There
should be like a 3-week bye on either side of that if they play in Australia.
Double bye. It can't happen until we get the double bye.
Just because our left tackle, who is great, I love Jordan Mailata.
Amazing.
Love his personality. Love his level of play. Love his story. I don't want to play a game in Australia just because we got him on the team.
What if it's a road game? What if it's somebody else's road game?
A little better, but not really.
Okay, all right.
You still have to travel.
You're just opposed to getting out of the Eastern time zone, or just the continental United States time zone for Eagles games.
Like one London or Germany game for every 10 years.
Oh, my goodness.
That's it.
We got to grow the game, Rich. We got to grow the game.
No, Roy. They play the actual football in Brazil. They're it's fine. like they're not gonna have the next Tom Brady from Brazil. I'm telling you, it's great.
We don't know that. They might have the next Jordan Mailata. You don't know. You don't know. I'm here for growing the game. Let's grow the footprint, baby. Let's do it. Roger Goodell.
Let the other teams grow the game. And also, Roger Goodell, if you care about growing the game, like, plan it out a little bit.
Okay.
Don't have the teams just stay at the hotel for 2 days.
We can talk about that. Yeah, that was a mistake.
But
easy schedule.
Easy schedule. I saw Pro Football Network had them with the easiest remaining schedule, and I think there are different methodologies to it. Football Outsiders, I guess it's not Football Outsiders anymore. Whatever Aaron Schatz' company is had it third. ESPN had it fourth. Regardless, they have an easy schedule on the way. And I would say just these next 4 games: Cleveland,
yes;
Giants,
yes;
Cincy. I think that could be a harder game just because Cincy's defense is bad, but their offense I'd be pretty afraid to go against with the way the Eagles' defense is playing. They're still scoring a crap ton of points.
Sure.
And then you get the Dougie Peas at home, and the Dougie Peas might not even have Dougie P.
Dougie P might not be there, and then by the time Cincy comes here, will they have something to play for? I mean, again, they might have packed it at that point. So however you want to judge the schedule, these next 4 games, very winnable. Again, I hate doing this because, again, you should say they should probably go 3-1, with these next 4 games.
Yeah, but it's not that simple.
But it's not that easy. Like, you just can't just kind of chalk it up because that's what we did with the first 4 games of the season, and they're 2-2. But
you could do that with the Phillies if they're playing like the White Sox or something.
You could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Eagles. This Eagles team, I don't feel confident enough to say they should be 3-1 after these 4 games. But just to kind of dovetail on your point and my point, this whole league's terrible.
Yeah,
the NFL. I mean, how many good to really good teams are there just in the NFC? Like, in your opinion, I have a list. Your list is probably similar to my list. I just don't think there's that many good teams, and so you only need to beat 9 teams to get in the playoffs. 10 of these teams to get in the playoffs. These teams are awful. So
the 3-1 teams and the other 4-0 team. I think the Lions are very legit.
I think the Lions are legit. So the Lions are on my list. Who else is on your list of good to very good teams in the NFC?
I mean, I think you have to take Minnesota somewhat seriously.
Minnesota's got to be serious
just because of their defense. Now, I'm a little curious if that that holds the rest of the way through. I mean, Minnesota to me has been the best coach team in the league. I think O'Connell does a great job with the offense. And Brian Flores is the best defensive coordinator going right now, I think. Right? Spags too. Is also,
Spags, but yeah.
I mean, Spags has the big moments in the playoffs as well. But they also have Sam Darnold as their quarterback. Like let's see if that
7th-year wonder Sam Darnold. Yes.
Let's see if that continues. I mean, outside of them, I don't know.
That's the thing you have to think about it, right? Like, the Niners are probably good now that they're relatively healthy, other than CMC. I think the Niners are good. I don't think they're worse than good. I think they're good.
But definitely a step down from last year.
Definitely a step down from last year. And I think Seattle's good. Again, their defense is atrocious, but I think they're good. Yeah. Again, they're a good team. Other than that, right? Like, I don't think there's any other team you would classify as legit good in the NFC. So if you only have to worry about 4 good teams, as mediocre as you are, you can find your way to the dance. All you need to do is get a ticket to the dance, right? Like, just get yourself in a position where you get a ticket to the dance. Maybe you catch the Niners on a bad day. Maybe you catch Detroit on a bad day. Maybe you win a couple games. I think this team, as crazy as it sounds, is still good enough to get to the dance.
Yeah, and I think that dovetails into my second point, and that would be, number one, the injuries, but overall the talent level, right? Like you mentioned that there's not any super convincing teams, and I agree with you. Now, I will say, I'll feel better about that argument. Can we get a couple blowouts at some point, though? You know what I mean?
You really want this blow? Like,
no, I want them to win by 10 points.
That shouldn't be crazy. They got to cut these turnovers down. They got to clean up a lot of stuff to do that, though. A lot. They got to get some pass rush. I don't know when that's like. My point is, a lot needs to be cleaned up for them to start blowing teams out. I don't know if that happens week 6 against Cleveland. I don't know if that happens. I don't know how long we have to wait until we see that.
Yeah. But like, look, if you line up their rosters against a lot of these teams, like you would think that outside of the pass rush, which is the one thing where I just, Jalen Carter obviously is super talented. He's had 3 really quiet games, and I'll give him a break last week because Baker Mayfield was getting the ball out super quick, and I thought that was a Fangio secondary failure for the most part. But again, overall with this defense, the defense just needs to have their floor is too low, Roy. You can't have one amazing game, and the Saints game was amazing. The defense completely won the game. Now, as Bo has pointed out, that was the Newt Shanahan offense. Like again, most teams are going to play 3 wide receivers. You got to figure out a way, whether it's nickel or putting an extra defensive tackle on the field, whatever it is, you just got to play better against that. Because that's what most of the league does.
Everybody does it.
It's so funny that the Shanahan offenses are usually what gives people trouble, and Fangio seems like he's pretty good against those. He's like, all right, man, you want to do these play action and these 21 personnel, 2 tight ends, all these different things. It's like, I'm fine against that. But if a team just runs out basic 11 personnel, which is the most popular formation by a mile in personnel grouping, that has been pretty rough. But I think overall, you look at the talent level, especially when they get these guys back, again, I think there's a lot of talent in the secondary. Sure. I think if Darius Slay, who I know has been super annoying to a lot of fans this week, and I got to tell you, I get it.
Oh, absolutely.
I get it. I think that guy has been a pretty darn good Eagle over the past few years. Obviously not perfect, but again, that is a tough position to play.
Absolutely.
Don't go on
there's certain things you do not do in this city, in any city, after a loss. One of which is going to an opposing players podcast and talk about one of your teammates, about how one of your teammates got burned.
And especially with CJ Gardner-Johnson getting mad about that and throwing passive aggressive stuff. Roy, this feels like a teenage high school drama on the CW right now. It's like, man, can you just figure out the coverage and not miss a million tackles as a secondary? So that would be another thing too. A third thing before we get to a break here, I would say that, and my friend Shil Kapadia had a stat the other day about this, that Vic Fangio's defenses have improved typically as the season has gone along. Now, at some point you would hope Vic would be like, well, we got to figure out the first month of the season. Just being nice. Just accepting that it's going to be a slow start. I don't like that.
Don't like it.
But the Dolphins were not very good the first few weeks of the season last year. And I think Sheila had the stat that they were 4th in, it was either EPA or success rate the rest of the year, which was super impressive because that group was unbelievably banged up. They were, Jalen Ramsey and all these guys. And I know a lot of those guys didn't end up liking Uncle Vic as they sent him out the door. But their defense was a lot better. And it felt like, especially – I know they played in that freezing cold playoff game against Kansas City. They weren't going to win that game.
No, that was a loss.
But they were pretty tough down the stretch. So I think that is the hope. And I saw that Prince Blue mentioned in the chat, like not having a preseason. Now
that matters, man. I mean, I know it's an old guy take, but I think, again, with a new DC, I think stuff like that matters.
Well, and it just matters when I know a lot of other teams approach it the same way. The Eagles seem just dead set on avoiding injuries.
No one get hurt, right?
And all those things. I don't know what the right answer is, but like when you miss 1 million tackles, I think it is fair to point out that you guys really didn't go live a lot in the preseason. And, they always talk about too. Oh, we get so much work in the joint practices. You had one joint practice against New England one day.
Right.
I don't know. It just seems like, and Sirianni always talks about, well, we always win the first week. It's like, well, your team.
Yeah, but your team's not great. So like you don't look sharp. You never look sharp that first week.
It's so funny too, because it's different than what the Andy Reid teams would do. Because the Andy Reid teams were not good at the beginning of years either. But that was because they were a little too beat up. They really stressed the fundamentals and hitting and getting in that level. And so he basically had a formula where, all right, September we might go 2-2. Might start 1-2 or whatever, but we'll get cooking.
Like October, November, we'll start rolling. I would say my rule of thumb is, if you have a new DC, if you have a new OC, if you replace 95% of your offense allegedly, you might want to throw those guys out there in August, let them get some work, with some bullets flying. Just say it. Just thought.
But I think if you look overall at the roster, there are a couple players that, like, even the linebackers, right? Nakobe Dean, bad week last week.
Bad week.
But he's had a couple of really positive games. And I'm just hoping, like, Nakobe, Vic, can you figure out, like, how the bad games are just not disasters, right? Like, can you...
you just need, like
competent level play.
Base level play for your linebackers.
See, I think he can get there. I don't think this all has to be, disastrous level games or really great games too. I think he can find, like, the water can find its level and he can give you competency, which is all you're looking for.
That's all you need
from that position. So that's, look, I think that the roster is good enough to rebound here. And all right, Roy, I got one more take for you, but we need to do some ads here. We will be back in a minute and talk about a few of the questions that we have for the rest of this Eagles season. And Roy, let me tell you about our friends at TrueMark Financial. They have the home equity line of credit, which is called the HELOC. The HELOC allows homeowners to borrow against home equity with a variable interest rate. Now, Roy, what does that mean? I don't know. It means that you can take some of the money from your savings and get access to funds as needed for something big, like a house renovation or education expenses or an emergency. And we all know those pop up at different times. But then there might be something small that you need too. Maybe Phillies tickets. The playoffs. Obviously,
there you go.
You see some of those prices. Those are getting pretty outrageous. So maybe they aren't actually small. But you can use TrueMark's financial budgeting tools to save for special purchases like limited edition merchandise. Regular contributions accumulate over time to reach saving goals effectively. Transferring as little as $5 a week gives you $260, which is more than enough for that Kelly Green Eagles jersey.
Nice.
That's Saquon Barkley, Kelly Green Eagles jersey. By the way, talking about reasons for optimism, Saquon Barkley is one of them too. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
Awesome. Now, let's take a moment to talk about our friends at Glatt Hair Restoration. Now, Morgenstern Center for Orbital, I'll get it right once I get the English language down, and facial plastic surgery recently welcomed the Glatt Group to the practice, creating an invaluable opportunity to leverage Dr. Glatt's high-caliber brand equity and beginning an exciting chapter in Dr. Morgenstern's highly respected legacy. Dr. Morgenstern is a nationally recognized specialist and among the few surgeons in the country who is trained in oculofacial plastic surgery, facial cosmetic surgery, general trauma surgery, and ophthalmology. Glatt Hair Restoration is under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Ken Morgenstern, and Drs. Glatt and Morgenstern share a remarkable bond that spanned many key years as colleagues and friends, from collaborating on critical research studies to working together in the operating room. So why is Glatt Hair Restoration even better now? Well, anyone can buy equipment and say they can do hair restoration, but only Glatt Hair offers decades of proven results using an innovative approach and delivered by leaders in the industry. Each member of the exceptionally trained team brings 30-plus years of industry experience, and hair restoration is all they do. It's the same peerless approach as before, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, same state-of-the-art location, and same stellar results. Glad Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP and stem cell restoration, and hair restoration surgery. Glad Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glad Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit gladhairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
As a reminder, the PHLY Eagle Show is presented by Bet365. And Roy, the last thing I would say about a reason for optimism too is just like, this is sometimes how NFL seasons go. Like sometimes a team looks up and down in September and they get some juice the rest of the year. The 2021 Eagles, they figured it out. Now, I think that team did an awesome job of maximizing its talent that year. You needed to get AJ and Reddick in here to like actually, change the calculus, running the ball to that degree. Like Hurts was not ready to throw enough to beat a team in the playoffs or whatever. But they did a great job that year. I thought Nick and Steichen and not as much Gannon, but Nick and Steichen did a great job of maximizing the talent on that team. And I think with the Eagles, we got spoiled for about a 2-year stretch because right in the middle of that season to the middle of last season,
right.
I'm looking at this right here. I believe from the midpoint of 2021 to the midpoint of 2023, Jalen Hurts went 32-6 as a starter.
Jeez.
That's unsustainable.
It's unsustainable. Yeah. And again, it's like last year, like you knew there was a little bit of a facade. Like they were winning football games, but you knew they weren't a good football team. So I think, I don't want to say I'd rather lose games, but if you're going to expose yourself as a mediocre team.
I'm just saying it's normal.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to expose, like, last year's team was basically mediocre, like maybe a hair above mediocre, right?
Well, they were mediocre when they were winning games. They went to the worst team in the league.
Yeah, agreed.
It was more than that. It was crazy.
Right. Okay, yeah. All right, you're right.
You're right. Overall, they're probably around mediocre.
So, but if you're going to be a mediocre team, I'd rather you make it clear and known week 5 than week 16. When you have a chance to, clean some things up. Because again, like this is a mediocre team. We have, we talked about the pass rush. We understand. But guys are coming back. We'll fix it. Like you said, move a piece here, move a piece here. I think they'll get a lot of things fixed. I'd rather you understand, hey, this is the list of things that need to get fixed week 5 than to, again, week 14, week 15.
Yeah. And look, they have Quinyon Mitchell, who looks like he's going to get continually better. And they have Saquon Barkley, who's been
fantastic. Unbelievably fantastic. Maybe
the best offensive player in football. Honestly, it's been.
I think him and Derrick Henry. I mean, like those are the two guys.
That Henry run last week. Man.
Oh my God!
I can't believe he's still doing that.
He's
flying,
man. And all. I don't know, but like again, like you have Saquon Barkley. AJ Brown's coming back. Devontae Smith's coming back. On the other side, Sidney Brown's coming back. He's going to be activated off PUP. I'll take every healthy body in that secondary. I can take at this point. All right, give me 4 guys who can cover something, and I'll go with that.
It's true. Like they should have options in the secondary.
Right.
Like Isaiah Rodgers, he doesn't know the rules on special teams. I don't know. Probably not. But he has a lot of talent. It seems like in terms of being able to cover.
But he hasn't been out there.
And Keely Ringo again. It's like. I really wish Isaiah Rodgers or Keely Ringo, just the caliber of players they are, I just wish that guy played defensive end. It feels like the Eagles just have too many guys on the back end. And, Slay has frustrated me at times this year. I will say like that, I think it was Trey Palmer who caught that touchdown in front of him.
Palmer. Yeah.
That was a nice throw. That was decent coverage.
That was a good throw.
It was decent throw. I was frustrated with him because it's like, come on, man, you can't cover Trey Palmer, but like, it was a good ball by Baker on that one too.
But if he's your quarterback, he's got to make that play. I mean, he can't keep giving up game-winning touchdowns. Yeah. Well, that was a game winner, but still, like the Drake London touchdown, like that, like the Drake London touchdown was like, what are you?
Well, especially afterwards too. He's like, great route, man.
Great route, man.
Way to go.
Good job, buddy. It's like, no, man. Like, no, like, you don't need to share banana pudding recipes with the man. Like, trying to stop, dude. But whatever. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let Fran say great route.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't need performative anger, but I don't know. Yeah, he's been on a bad run.
Like you just don't like. I know people in the city, want you to turn into the Incredible Hulk if you give up a game-winning touchdown. I understand. Like that's what some people want, right? Like these players aren't going to do that. And again, I don't want them to do that if that's not like if that's not your personality.
You have lives too.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Like, you guys are friendly, but
just don't go on a Cowboys podcast.
Right? Yeah, just be a little bit more upset. That's all I'm asking.
Don't go on a Cowboys podcast. Okay, 5 quick questions for you, Roy, and then we'll get out of here.
Let's do it.
Just kind of what I think are kind of some swing questions for the season. So, if the Eagles make an in-season trade, what position do you think they target?
I just got to go back to pass rush. I mean, I think they get an edge rusher. I would like them to get one. I don't know who's available, but again, it's week 5, so I'm sure between now and was it week 9 trade deadline? Week 9, week 10. I'm sure between now and then somebody will be out there. So I think they'll make a move and try to fix that edge rush problem. Yeah,
I mean, you saw it last year with Montez Sweat. The Bears traded for him. Yeah. They traded like a second for him. It's funny though, the trade market for pass rushers is now maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it's more of a buyer's market than you think, because honestly, what they got for Hassan Reddick, I know the Jets completely bungled the contractual situation, but they didn't really
get much for a guy who gets 11 sacks a year.
So maybe that's the case. Although I think there is an argument to be made that in season, when teams actually think they could do something, and they're probably a little more desperate at that point than when the offseason, when they have the draft available to them and all those things, that they might have to pay a little bit more of a premium. I think it's 100% pass rusher too, because I just think the roster's pretty solid elsewhere.
Other like if we took pass rush out, I mean, who would you want to go make a move for? Like what position? Like I can't think of one offhand. Like maybe linebacker. But I'm like splitting hairs because again, like I think again, you just need warp level production out of Baldwin and Nakobe Dean. And I think you could get that. So
is there, could you get a backup running back on the cheap? So Saquon just doesn't get completely worn down, and you don't have to put Kenny Gainwell in there on those key snaps. If Saquon plays 8 straight snaps and just puts his hand up, be like, Coach, I need a blow for a few plays, which happens in these games. I'm with you. That is the obvious position, whether it's D tackle, D end. They just need a little bit more juice up there. Roy, another question I have, because Vic Fangio basically hinted that this move is coming, and I'm hoping it's coming this Cleveland game right after the bye.
Yeah.
What do you make of Cooper DeJean so far? Like, because Avonte Maddox has just not been very good.
Not been good. No. So I think Cooper DeJean, like you said, with the bye week, is going to have probably 2 full weeks to kind of play with the ones or practice with the ones and be ready. I think he's going to be fine. He really can't be any worse than Avonte Maddox. Like I know, in the chat, I know people are anti-PFF grades, but Avonte Maddox has a horrible PFF grade. Like
I'm pretty anti-PFF grades.
Is it a Chris Collinsworth thing, or is it just in general?
I actually I'm a bigger Chris Collinsworth. I know a lot of people don't like him because of the Super Bowl call, and I agree that wasn't his best stuff, him and Al. But I've enjoyed Collinsworth over the years. I just think PFF grades are super subjective.
They're very subjective,
right. Yeah. And I think different people, you don't always know what the scheme is, what the responsibility is, all those things. To just kind of slap a number on that at the end. Now, look, I think sometimes they do a good job, and obviously they have people that work really hard, and just using quarterback rating or yards and stuff like that. No, there's a lot of nuance to it in terms of grading a player. But I'll just tell you, Avonte Maddox gets beat and missed tackles every week.
You don't need a grade, subjective grade for that. So you can see it with your eyes.
I'm sure their grade is fine for him.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be good. And I just think the big thing is I don't know if Cooper DeJean is any good. To expect him to have a Quinyon Mitchell impact right away,
it's not gonna happen.
We don't know. But Avonte Maddox is not playing well enough to hold him off, because Cooper DeJean has the promise of all right, he might not be that great at the start, but he's young enough where he might get better.
Exactly.
And he might be a guy that, when you find your footing in December and you got all those home games, he might be ready to go. And that's something that Bo has talked about a lot. That's I don't know if you know about the Church of Ellis. Christian Ellis. Bo loved him and was furious that the Eagles let him go. Wow. But the general point is that the Eagles, they kind of went for the quick fix too much with Shaq Leonard and all those guys. Sometimes you got to play the younger guys that have a chance to maybe improve and get a little bit more confident. So I think that situation is going on with Cooper DeJean. All right, quick one here. Does the Nick Sirianni discourse, does it die down?
Winning is the best cologne, right? So if they win some games, I think we stop talking about this, and these upcoming next 4 games are pretty winnable. So once they rip off a couple wins, I think we'll stop, bashing this dude, calling for his head. Yeah.
I would like it to die down. I would like to just talk. I would like to, And honestly, it's just stop with the game management decisions. I'm not going to blame you for Vic Fangio's defense. Vic Fangio's defense the other day,
don't blame me at all.
Lost the game. That wasn't.
That's all him. That's all him.
Yeah. So I hope win a couple games against these bad teams.
Yeah, don't put yourself in 4th and 1 positions where you have to make a call that people hate.
I feel bad for him in some sense too, because I'm a pretty be aggressive type of guy. Right. I am not as big on kicking the field goals. Although he messed up in that one New Orleans game. Come on, you got to take that field goal.
You have to.
But it's funny that I feel like all of those high leverage plays are going against him right now.
Every single one, man.
And I feel like if he keeps doing the 4th and 3, 4th and 4 from the 38-yard line or whatever, some of those are going to start working.
Right. Yeah, like the law of averages, everything's going to balance out, right?
Okay, so I would like to stop talking about Nick Sirianni.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, can Saquon Barkley keep this up?
I hope so. I looked it up. He's on pace for 361 touches, which is like Derrick Henry level of touches. But again, that's only because he only got the ball 12 times the last game. So before the last game, he was on pace for like some disgusting amount of touches. I think it was like probably like 390, 400. I think he can. I think just to kind of get back to your original point about maybe bringing in a backup running back, you probably are going to need to figure out a way to spell him in October, November, so he's okay in December. And I don't know if Kenneth Gainwell's that guy, because I just don't think you can give him. I mean, again, he's relatively young, but I don't think you want to give Saquon 30 carries or 30 touches a game between now and the playoffs. So between now and then, they have to figure out some kind of better rotation to get Gainwell some carries. But I think as long as they keep him fresh, I think he can keep this up.
This goes back to my point, Roy. We got to start blowing out some teams, man.
Got to blow out some teams. Got to stop turning the ball over. It's all connected.
If you're up 20 in the second half, you can start running Kenny Gainwell a little more, right? Or whoever this new person is.
Will Shipley play that first? Was the first play? Throw some Will Shipley out there. I'm not mad at it.
Throw some Ben Van Sumeren out there.
There you go.
Put him on the second play.
Fullback Ben.
Don't throw Ben Van Sumeren. That play was pretty ridiculous.
I don't know what that play. Like what was that? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, they do need to find a way to limit his touches. But I gotta say, like, I am blown away. Like, it just,
he's unbelievable.
Just some of the runs, some of the cuts, his ability to just run away from defenders. Like the fact that he's basically hitting, like a 50-yard play every week. Like that's not normal.
It's not real. It's not. Yeah. It's not, we're not used to that. Again, like this is a team that finally spent up, to address the running back position. And you got a guy like you can see the clear difference between him and guys like DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders. I mean, it's clear. Like this is an elite back, and this is what an elite back can do. With an elite offensive line and with skill position players that are basically on the same level.
Yeah, it's been a great start, and I got to say, Howie's offseason not looking great in a lot of senses. CJ Gardner-Johnson has not been. I kind of had him as the average guy. Obviously because Huff is already an F-. You have Zach Bond's been good.
Bond's been fine.
It's been and not obviously getting him. Although you might give Fangio credit for that because it seems like he was the guy who pushed for him. Devin White, Zach has been hitting. Maybe he's not on the team tomorrow. That's like a Friday afternoon little news dump. But yeah, it's been bad except for Saquon, who's been just unbelievable. Good.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Jahan Dotson but whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's on the field the entire game, but they just never throw him.
Never get a target.
All right, last one, real quick, Roy.
Yes.
Do you believe in Washington and Jaden Daniels, who have that guy they basically not punted for like 3 weeks.
For like 3 games, even was it 1 punt or something like that?
Yeah.
It's like obviously that's not sustainable, but I mean he's a super dynamic talent, man. Like he's good. Like once the accuracy, like by accuracy I mean touchdowns. Once he starts throwing for touchdowns and using his arm to get down the field a little bit more, I think that's going to be a really dynamic offense. That's a decent team. I mean, I think
they shouldn't be a dynamic offense, right? They got McLaurin.
I understand they have one receiver and they don't even throw to him all the time. They don't even throw to McLaurin all the time. Like Zach Ertz is their tight end. Like it doesn't make any sense. I love Brian Robinson, so I'll give him a pass.
Sure.
But skill position wise, there might be on par with the Giants skill position wise. Maybe worse.
And it was supposed to be a bad offensive line coming into the year, and they're doing a great job. So I think that part really scares me because it's like, man, is this just the quarterback is really playing at that high of a level with that surrounding cast?
Right.
That worries me a little bit. I guess the only thing I can cling to hope on is that dude, he takes too many big hits.
Yeah.
And I think in the last couple of weeks, he's probably dialed that back a little bit.
Sure.
Like, it felt like his first couple games against Tampa, against the Giants. He was running into the secondary and like putting his shoulder down. He's just not big enough to handle that over a full season. So that one, see, the last few weeks though, he's been better.
Yeah, like when I saw like the first couple of weeks, I think we probably were in sync because I saw some of those hits and I'm like, I had visions of RG3. I really did. I'm like, this is the same thing we saw with RG3, taking too many unnecessary hits, and then you take one hit too many, and then that's it. And I hope we don't see that with Jayden Daniels because he's a fantastic talent. He's unbelievable.
It's also too, he's a little bigger than this, but I just remember like the first time I ever saw Mike Vick, just covering the Eagles in their practice facility, just seeing him walk around. Like it's amazing that he was not that big of a guy. He was like 6 feet tall and slender, and you could just see because he was not the greatest at sliding and was awesome for it. You could just see him wear down over a season, and I wonder if Daniels might have that. But I got to say, like I've just been super impressed with him as the season started.
He's really good.
I guess my hope is that Cliff Kingsbury offenses have usually started pretty strong, and then they've petered out as the season has gone along. But man, it's like you said, like Zach Ertz is prominently involved, and these guys don't punt.
Right, like Zach Ertz is tight end one. Like other than Terry McLaurin, name the other Washington receivers. Like they're not a very very deep skill position team. But I mean, this team puts up a bunch of points. I mean, God bless him.
Taking great care of the ball, and I will say he got crunched on this play, but this is the good type of crunch because he was hanging in the pocket. The throw he made to McLaurin to seal the Cincy game, wow! I mean, that was just
that's some big time.
That was big time stuff.
Big time throws, as they say in the advanced stats. That was one of those big time throws.
Yeah. Well, like, look, I hope he doesn't get injured, but I hope something bad happens to his play because
something bad happens to his play.
I'm not
the generic. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but I just want him to dial it down a little bit.
Just start throwing some turnovers.
Throw some picks.
Maybe Brian Robinson starts fumbling a little bit because I'm not ready for a world where Washington has a legit quarterback.
Somebody different has to win this division at some point, right? Like we gotta, we keep passing the baton between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I mean, somebody else has to come up and be that third team, right?
I feel like Washington every 5 years has the year where the division's not good and the Eagles and Cowboys kind of stink. And they poke their head up and then they get blasted in the wild card round usually. So I think look. The Eagles don't figure this out. That's very, very much in play. It's not
very much so.
It's not like Jayden Daniels, if the Eagles keep this up, is going to have to keep his pace up either to be ahead of him.
No.
Okay, Roy, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate all the sickos hanging out with us in the chat. I believe tomorrow, Julia, it's me and Fran tomorrow, closing out the week. It's a bye week for Bo and Zach as well, and they will be back next week. So from me, from Roy, and from Julia behind the scenes, thank you for hanging out with us today, and we will see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.